What is a float chop in table tennis? Have you ever wondered how some players manage to keep their opponents guessing during a rally? One of the secrets lies in a technique known as the float chop. So, what exactly is a float chop in table tennis? A float chop is a defensive stroke that blends elements of a traditional chop with a unique floating characteristic. This means the ball travels over the net with very little to no spin, making it tricky for opponents to predict its path. Unlike a standard chop that adds heavy backspin, causing the ball to drop quickly, a float chop glides through the air. This floating effect makes the ball's trajectory less predictable. Players often use long pips rubber on their rackets to perform this stroke. This special rubber helps neutralize or even reverse the spin from the opponent's shot, resulting in a ball that comes back with minimal spin. When executed correctly, the float chop can include a subtle mix of backspin and sidespin. This combination can confuse opponents, leading them to misjudge the ball's bounce. To perform a float chop effectively, timing and racket angle are essential. Players typically make contact with the ball just after it reaches its peak height. Striking the bottom and sides of the ball at this moment creates that floating effect. Positioning is also key. Being closer to the table allows defenders to adjust to the ball's bounce better, giving them more control over the float chop. This technique is particularly useful during defensive rallies, especially against aggressive topspin attacks. It can disrupt the rhythm of an opponent's offense, making it harder for them to attack effectively. However, it is important to note that while float chops can be a surprise tactic, they do have limitations. Skilled attackers can sometimes counter them with well-timed topspin strokes. Therefore, players often combine float chops with other chopping techniques to keep their opponents off balance. In essence, a float chop is a unique defensive stroke in table tennis characterized by a ball that appears to float over the net with minimal spin. This makes it challenging for opponents to return effectively. By mastering the float chop, players can add another layer to their defensive game, making them tougher to beat during rallies.